something to be laughed at mildly in Boston. The Navy Britannia sits on the waves in between England and France on a small pair of water wings. The water wings fail her, she sinks, seeks for enlightenment, grabs a small trolley in the supermarket for a few packs of Buddha biscuits, a small helping of Krishna cookies, and a few Jesus gumpers, all of which she stuffs inside her little mouth, chews upon them till fully masticated, and spits them out into a big balloon, which grows and grows and grows, until she can pull out her little buck knife, make a small incision at the bottom of the balloon, and the entire contest falls a peaceful massacre. This is called dancing to the music.
His fucking vocal mic doesn't work, everybody, so cool out. Oh, hang on a minute, we'll get it all right for you.
That must have been very exciting. Plenty of action here. You are shortly about to witness a small comic interlude. It's a special humorous sketch entitled, "What's Happened to My Fucking Microphone?" The hero of this particular sketch is dressed up in 1974 roadie's costume. His name is Nick. His real name is also Nick. And he magnificently tapes a small microphone with the true humility of a self-conscious road manager who hides behind the bass drum. But nevertheless, this is his stage debut for this tour, and we like a large sign of appreciation for Nick.
I'll go to the front one. Are you with me?
Hello? Yeah. We apologise for all the trouble. We're doing professional next week. This is called Dancing with the Moonlit Knight. Can you tell me where my country lies? Cried the unicorn to his true love's eyes. It lies with me, cried the queen of maybe, for her merchandise he traded in his prize. Hey, Collins, cried a voice in the crowd. Easy now, all them dies, the note he left was sound of Father Thames. It seems he's drowned, selling England by the pound. Citizens of hope and glory, time goes by, it's the time of your life. Easy now,
Adagio. A gentleman named Romeo noticed a small fungus hovering above his knees and below his waist. And the fungus was removed, stuck in the oven, and left over 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, it changed colour to a strange maroon. The maroon fungus was crumpled up in his little wet hand and shoved into his moist, eager lips, and produced in Romeo what is commonly known as a high degree of sexual excitation. I carry with me a piece of symbolism. Symbolism, subtle pieces of symbolism, can become extremely tiring if carried around for long periods. And it was fortunate for our hero that just around the corner on a balcony was little Juliet, singing sweetly to herself.
Come and get it!
Our hero was aroused once more. He grabbed the young lady from the balcony and led her into the darkness and obscurity of the cinema, and what went on a little while later was described briefly in the newspaper as the cinema show. Here's a continuation of the earlier sketch. That was Jeff. Yes, the sentiment is mutual. This is called the cinema show. Thank you for your patience.
She said, but time to go. And she be late for her cinema show. Cinema show. Romeo locks his basement flat. Scurries up the stair with head held high and throwing time a weekend millionaire. I will make my bed with her tonight, he cries, and he fell on with his chocolate surprise. Take a little trip back to his bar that time he's used. Listen to the old man speak of all he has been through. I have lost between
I apologise for this fuck up. We'll start again.
Don't you wish you'd gone to the pictures, don't you?
As 1 o'clock, and time for lunch. Humpty-Dumpty-Dum. When the sun beats down and everybody on the bench, they can always hear them talk. There's always been intro. If you wake up, you got to tidy your room now. I bet Mr. Lewis was in the time when he was out on his own. Over the garden wall, two little lovebirds. Keep them moving strong. I know.
The journey was very thirsty making, not unlike the chaos here tonight. And remembering the human body was 98% water, we pulled a few human bodies from the nearest container, laying them down flat upon the ground to facilitate jumping upon them. After several hours of jumping upon them, we produced a small heap of dust and a clear pool of water. This water was fresh and suitable for drinking. So we drank the water. Unfortunately, the fifth time we repeated this process, we were beginning to realize that the amount of water derived from jumping upon the body was something less than enough to quench our thirst in all the exercise and so jumping. And we noticed too that the water was filthy around where the mouth had been. And it was at the mouth of the Firth of the Fifth that we began this one. disappeared behind the bushes as the croquet game was about to start. And the lady he was about to play with, little Cynthia, was horrified as his naked form dashed past her unsuspecting self. She was also a little titillated and pursued the young man with her croquet mallet raised high in the air. Henry was dead. Quite dead. Dynamite indeed. Within seconds, he grew little furry white balls out of each armpit, and these balls rapidly expanded to fully fledged wings, fully deodorized, glorious wonder white, and capable, if flapped like hell, of reaching heaven. Unfortunately, he was rejected by the authorities up there and returned all the way down again to occupy the old man's body he would have had. All this happened on the opening of his favourite musical box.
Just a little bit more time. Here it comes again, again and again and again. Baby, my house song. Here it comes again. must remember me. Wrong. Okay, now my mic's working, his guitar's working. We're both going to sing a little song. We all join in the chorus. You've been here before. Roll for me. Here am I, wide awake, morning since you've gone. Too long have I laid alone, not knowing which way to turn. And there you are, quite sure you were right. But knowing full well that I'd be the first one to go down, and you'd be the one who was laughing, except when things weren't going your way. And then the lady would say that she's hiding now, wandering around on her own. The day you left, I think you knew not be back. Well, at least it would seem that way, because you never said goodbye. Yes, but when it comes round to you and me, I'm sure it will work out alright. And you'll be the one who was laughing, giving me something I don't need. And you know I'd always hold you and keep you warm. Oh, more fool than me. Yes, when it comes round to you and me, I ask myself, do I really believe in your love? And yes, I'm sure it will work out alright.
This is just a temporary reminder of the humorous little anecdote presented to you a little earlier. Old Michael was walking past the pet shop into the park, and the park looked very clean, very green, very smooth. Seeing himself, old Michael saw a pink, flabby, dirty mass. He took off his clothes and began to rub his body into the cool, clean, green grass. It made a sort of scratching sound, and he filled it in with his 10 little fingers tapping upon the surface of the ground. And so on. You're very kind. This exciting little musical rendition was interpreted beneath the ground by the inhabitants, known merely to us mortals as worms, as meaning rainfall. And rainfall to worms means two things. One, as you probably knew, worms like to keep very clean bath time. Two, as you probably didn't know, worms like to keep very dirty mating time. Within seconds, the entire smooth, clean, green surface of the park was a sea of dirty, brown, swarming, mating worms. Old Michael continued to rub his pink, flabby flesh into the dirty, brown mess. Thank you. He too had a little smile and a little song. Here he is, a little song. Up in the sky, the thousands and thousands of birds heard this happy little tune and interpreted it as being a signal for supper is ready for our supper. Walking across the city room, turn the television off, sitting beside you. I look into your eyes as the sound of motor cars fades in the night time. I swear I saw your face change. It didn't seem quite right. And it's hello, babe, with your guardian eyes so blue. Hey, my baby, don't you know our love is true? Coming closer with our eyes, a distance falls around our bodies. Out in the garden, the moon seems very bright. 6 saintly shrouded men move across the lawn slowly. 7th walks in front with a cross held high in hand. And it's hello, babe, your supper's waiting for you. Hey, my baby, don't you know our love is true? I've been so far from here, far from your warm arms. It's good to feel you again. It's been a long time.
feelings in our faces when our faces took a rest. We walked across the fields to see the children of the West. We saw the host of dark-skinned warriors standing still below the ground. Has left. We climb up a mountain of human flesh to a plateau of green grass and green trees full of life. A young figure sits still by a pool. He's been stamped human bacon by some butchery tool. He is here. Social security took care of this night. We watch in reverence as Narcissus is turned to a flower. British flag, pushed it back, put it back. Now it's a prince. The prince was a prince. This was an egg. The egg was a man. But when you said the ring, there are in China. Yes, I'm sure it will work out all right.
That's a very sweet little song. Thank you. That's very nice. Well, we'll be back and talking more in get a couple of commercials out of the way here. We'll be back in 120 seconds. And if I get my mom straight here, gets a little confusing. Sitting here with Phil Collins and Michael Rutherford from the group Genesis, just sang the song for us. I'd like to talk for a few seconds about what it is that you will be doing exactly tonight, because it is an interesting thing. I know that some people who will be going tonight will be seeing you for the first time, and maybe some sort of a description. It seems like a fairly bizarre thing.
Yeah, well, we'd like to say something about this, because the promoter, fair enough, you know, the way he's advertised it,
right,
has been a little bit... it's had a circus feel, you know. Come and see the freaks, you know, eating fire on stage. Right. Someone asked Peter about that once, whether he ate fire. And the tightrope. Water tightrope. You know, I mean, stories carry out this. I mean, basically, and also that we might fly him up into the high in the sky like we did once in a gig. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, we have a show that has, I think, is, you know, visually very strong. We're using a stage set and... with a backdrop, and the slides, which are incorporated, you know, they go with the numbers, and extensive lighting sort of thing. You know, I think the visual side is very strong. But I mean, there's just in case people have this idea that, like, you know, freak things are going to happen, the place is going to be blown up.
All right, there'll be no explosions.
What a good way. No.
How do you feel about the you know, as you get out on the stage now, it is theatrics to a certain extent as far as
the theatrics. I mean, the visual things we use are there to put over the music stronger rather than attract people's attention.
I see. Okay.
I mean, the costumes that Peter uses and the characters that he adopts are those that are in the tunes, and therefore, like, at one point, it started off really, well, basically as a reason, because the lyrics weren't coming across to audiences, you know, in places where you couldn't understand the lyrics, because they're not like usual rock and roll lyrics. So if people thought that if you could do something to help get the lyrics over by adopting the characters of the songs, whatever songs they are, then it would probably be better. And so it's better to say that rather than sensationalism, it is supposed to be related to the music.
Now, it must be difficult to relate to audiences that don't conceive of the lyrics of a song as being all that important. Undoubtedly, you've played in cities where they were looking for the beat, and if there's no beat, there's no reaction to that. Is that sporadic in areas of the country, or have you noticed certain cities are worse than others, or is that happened to you back in England too? And that's an interesting thing.
The funny thing is, actually, that I guess our best country, our most popular country, is Italy, but I can't understand a word. You know? So, I don't know what that says, but it says something, right?
That's really bizarre.
America, they seem to understand a lot of the lyrics. A lot of the lyrics have little humorous digs, which I think the Americans miss out on because they're English, right? Like, I find a lot of American humor I can't get into just because it's American. I'm not American, and so a lot of our little humorous bits, I think, get lost. But considering the American audience seems to understand the lyrics fairly well.
How are the audiences in Europe in general? Are they much different than American audiences? Are they rowdier?
They're a bit hysterical. They're political. They tend to be very political. You know, they love us to sing songs about. The young people, I think, are very politically minded in Europe, and consequently, they see music because it's a big part of their lives.
And you don't feel that so much these days in America?
No, and I'm glad, because I don't think it should be. I don't think it should have anything to do with politics. I don't approve of preaching, really. Having a little digs is much more fun. But
well, thank you for stopping by, Phil and Michael from Genesis, and I hope that everyone will make it over to see your gig tonight. It should be an exciting one. It'll be at the Music Hall. What time is it? Is this an on-time start?
Smith. 8.
8 o'clock tonight.
It's just us.
And I think this is a long concert, right?
Couple of hours. It's just us, right? So very often it's difficult because there's no support.
So sometimes people arrive late.
Guys think, they'll be on about 9. We go on about 8.
Okay, so there's no
support.
You're
stuck with us for 2 hours. Anyone who comes. No.
Chained to the seats we put them.
Right.
Doors are locked.
And I think there still are some tickets available. So if you're interested, make it over to the Music Hall tonight at 8. See Genesis. We'll end with one last cut from from your album out on Charisma. Anything special about this? And this is the Firth of Fifth.
No, it's not. It's quite a strong instrumental track. I mean, there's a lot of instrumental passages as the album goes. You know what I mean?
And I guess the other thing we should mention is that there will be 5 of you tonight instead of just 2.
Oh, sure, yeah.
With friends, yeah, right. There are 5 of them.
And Phil he'll be the one behind the drums, so you'll be able to pick him out.
I won't sing, I promise.
Okay. Thanks for stopping by once again. Next time you're in town, hope you will. Okay.